Welcome back to Over the Edge podcast, where it is loud today. I feel like I said this last week too, but it's like every time I sit down to record something, the universe is like, "Did you want helicopters with that? Would you like some sirens?" So today, I want to talk about a thing that we hate talking about as creatives, but is absolutely necessary. And I'm genuinely surprised I haven't talked about yet because I used to talk about this all the time because that's how important I think it is. So today's episode is for you if you are creative and you would like to pay your bills being creative. If you would like to make money doing this instead of going to a 9 to 5 or doing gig work that you're just like kind of tired of and you want to be creative for a living and you don't know how to do it, I'm going to talk to you about sales. I just wanted to give a pause to let it sink in because everybody has a specific feeling about sales. And for most creatives, that feeling is like, we hate it. So today, I'm hoping that I can rearrange that for you because selling is actually really fun. I enjoy sales. I have my reasons for enjoying the sales process, but I need you to understand a few things if you are creative and you want to do this full time and you're going to need to pay your bills with it and save for retirement, maybe even go on vacation, which you do deserve. But you have to rearrange how you think of sales and selling around what you're doing before you can be successful at it, because that is the successful part of it is sales is hand in hand with people knowing about you and knowing what you do. So if you are an artist, if you are creative and you want to make a living at it, people need to know what you do in order to buy from you. And in order to buy from you, you have to have a sales process, no matter what. That's the thing is like, yes, actually, you do have to sell. I think the dream for everybody is I just want to wake up and make art, and then I want people to find it and buy it because they love my art so much. Why can't it be that? And it's not that it can't be that, but the whole finding it part, I want people to find it and buy it. You have to give them systems to be able to do that. You have to give them a way to find you. You have to give them a way to buy from you. All of those steps are part of a sales process. Your marketing, your networking, your posting on social media is part of an overall sales process. And you do have to do it. You do have to learn to sell. You do have to learn to have a conversation with somebody who says to you, "I want to buy your art." You have to know what you're going to say to that when somebody says that, because it might sound obvious. It might sound obvious like, well, what I say to that is, "Yes, please give me your money and here's my art." But it's actually different than that. It's as simple as you want it to be. The answer is still like, absolutely, I'm sending you an invoice right now. Can't wait. Or maybe the invoice says, here's the cost, and then you negotiate the cost, right? But the point is that you do have to have a sales process, and it takes time, not just to figure out what your sales process is, but to have enough experience within your own sales process that you know how a conversation is going to go. For example, someone says, "I want to buy your art," and you say, "Fantastic. The price is XYZ." There's a many different responses people will have to the price is XYZ. And eventually, after doing it enough times, you're going to figure out a response to each of their responses, right? It's going to be, "Oh, that's too expensive," or "Can you sell it to me for $5 instead of $5,000? Or "That's too expensive. Who do you think you are to charge that much money?" You will get so many responses, and there will be a day in your life when you don't have a feeling about any of them, right? There will be plenty of times when you get a new response and you go like, "Oh, that was not what I expected somebody to say." Right? And you have to learn to deal with that. But there will be a time in your life where somebody, no matter what the response is to your prices or the cost of your work, there will be a time when it does not faze you. There will be a time when you say a huge number that you're scared to say, and somebody goes, "Fantastic, send me the invoice." That kind of thing. But no matter what, you do have to have a sales process set up. And I could make a whole episode about how to set up sales as a creative, but that's not really what we're talking about today. Today, we're just rearranging our thinking around sales to begin with. Well, actually, this is number 0. You have to learn how to sell. And the thing is, when people think of sales, they think of like bro marketing tactics, like really gross stuff that nobody likes anymore, right? Like I think of all of the ads that I see on YouTube of like bros just broing out. about how doing sales and doing numbers and all of that. And I think that doesn't sit well with a lot of us. If we don't want to be on the receiving end of it and we don't like consuming content like that, that's typically not the process that we want to do, but it is the process that we think that we have to default to. And that is not true. So not only are we going to talk about sales, we're going to talk about how we create sales that feel good, right? Because the reason I really enjoy the sales process is because when I sit down for a sales call with somebody, and you don't even have to think of it as a sales call, but when I sit down for a sales call with somebody, I get to learn about the highlights of what they're doing, the dreams of what they're doing, the big deal about what they're doing, like their major goals. I get to sit down and understand all of their dreams. And I'm also starting to get a hold on their challenges. What's not going right? What could be going right? What's frustrating, right? We're seeing the highs and lows, the light and the shadow of a human experience. And to me, I think that's interesting. And I also think it's interesting that people trust me with that on a simple conversation, no matter how the conversation goes. I always try to make it no pressure, low pressure. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to buy from me. That's a different point. We'll get to it. But my first point, so we've gone through 0. Yes, you have to do it. My first point, number 1 is what even is selling? Because if we can rearrange that in our minds, it gets easier. So for me, selling is understanding the human experience that somebody is going through, the opportunities, the dreams, the hard work, the challenges, and having a conversation about, can we change that for you? Is there really anything I can do that might help, that might shift things, that might change things? And that has to be a genuine conversation. You as the creative have to go into that conversation willing to say, you know what, I actually don't think that what I offer is the right fit. Right? Because that's where your first kind of test of integrity is. It's not bro marketing. It's not gross, icky, or manipulative, which is what everyone's afraid selling is always going to be. It's not any of those things unless you make it those things. So the first thing is understanding what really is selling. It's not pressuring people into buying something. It's not being icky or gross or manipulative. It's not bro marketing. It's sitting down for a conversation with people to say, what challenges are you facing? Here's what I'm good at, that might be able to help with that. That's all that is. That's all you have to think about that. And I think that's an important conversation. So that's number 1, understand what selling really is. And it's none of the things that you think it is. It's just, you're sitting down, you're having a connection with somebody, you're having a conversation, and you're being transparent about what you can do and what you can't do in order to help them. Number 2, when it comes to sales, is people do not magically just know who you are, right? It's not like when you decide to be self-employed or go into business for yourself, it's not like everybody gets a little email from the universe that's like, hey, somebody's in business now. You should go check out their work on their website. Nobody knows who you are until you tell them. And nobody knows what they can buy from you until you tell them. And that's all part of sales. Telling them, making them aware of who you are and what you do differently and how you can change their life with it or change their business or change whatever moment they're in. Nobody knows who you are until you tell them. And I think this part is the freakiest part for everybody because as creatives, we so badly want to be behind the work. We often want to hide behind the work. We want the work to speak for ourselves, but unfortunately, that's not really how it works. We have to speak for ourselves. We have to promote ourselves. We have to talk about our work. And I do like that it's that way. Art and artist are two very intertwined things for me. The art that somebody makes is very connected to the human behind it for me. I don't separate the art and the artist. And I don't think many people do. I feel like it's rare. Well, okay, I won't say that it's rare, but as much as we want our work to speak for ourselves, we, the artist, need to stand in front of it and be willing to go deeper with people about that work, right? So that's number 2. No one's going to know who you are unless you tell them. And that is selling. It's marketing, but it is also selling. Because when you're telling them who you are, you're telling them who you are in a way that's relevant to what they need or what they want, right? You don't need to tell them necessarily that you love the smell of sunscreen. That comes up because I love the smell of sunscreen. But if you're creating a piece of work for them, where did your inspiration for that come from? And why does that inspire you? Those are relevant things. So let people know who you are. You are the person that's responsible for telling them There will be people who love you and want to shout your praises from the rooftops. That will happen, but you do have to get there first. You do have to talk about yourself first. You do have to tell people that you want to be talked about. And I think that scares a lot of people, but don't let it, because it's these small things that if we can shift them, it's these small things that are standing in the way of us doing what we want to do and doing what we love to do. So, just let's recap a little bit before we get to number 3, which I find is one of the most important ones. So selling as a creative, yes, you have to do it. Number 1, selling isn't what you think it is. Selling is just a conversation. It's a connection. And as long as you're transparent and you're honest about what you can and can't do, there's no problem with having a sales conversation or sitting down and saying to somebody, I can do this. And I feel like we're a good fit. Would you like to buy it? Would you like to do this? Would you like to get on my calendar XYZ? And then you just sit and you wait to see what the answer is. Is it yes or no? It's all good. So that's number 1, rearrange what you think selling is. Number 2, no one's going to know who you are unless you tell them, is the unfortunate truth of that, because your work is discoverable just as your work. But here's the thing. There are so many people out there already talking about their work, and they're going to get seen first because they are talking about their work. So your work as representing just your work as its own is in the queue, but people who are representing their work first, who are talking about their work first, are going to make it to the top of the queue faster. So you do have to be out there talking about what you do. Otherwise, how are people going to know about you? You got to tell people why you're doing what you're doing. That's how they're going to find out about you. Number 3, you can't force people to buy your work, right? Don't worry about bro marketing tactics. Don't worry about feeling manipulative or icky. Selling is fine, because as long as you are being honest and transparent about what you're selling, you're not going to be able to force anybody to buy it. Like, to me, this is why price doesn't really matter to me. Like, your price will fit some people, it will not fit some people or other people, but that's okay, because the people that do spend money on you, and there will be people who spend money on you, as long as your sales process is in integrity and you feel good about it and you're honest and transparent, like we've been talking about, then the people that spend money on you will be happy they spent money on you. And I see a lot of people worrying like, oh, but what if this isn't the right investment for them? What if they can't do it? Blah, blah, blah. If they can't do it, they won't do it. You're having a sales conversation is not forcing people to spend money on you. Okay. So I need you to get past the idea of like this hesitation of like, not just like, what if people buy from me? It's like this hesitation of like, what happens when people spend money on me? Do I need to worry about that? Blah, blah, blah. You don't need to worry about that, because you can't force people to buy what you're selling, right? Of course, it gets gross when you see people who are lying about what they're selling and lying about their results, or lying about whatever. That's the kind of thing where you are weirdly like you're manipulating people into buying from you, and that's gross and weird. Like, we don't do that, and you don't do that. You don't have to do that. And this is why you can always rest easy at night when it comes to selling. Show up honestly, show up transparently, price appropriately. Did you hear that? Price appropriately, price for profit. And know that whoever spends money on you is happy to spend money on you. And you don't have to worry about anybody spending money on you. Like, I just see this all the time with creatives. They're so worried about the money people are spending on them. And I don't understand why. Like, you can't force people to buy what you're selling. So don't worry about your sales process. Your sales process is fine. Feel good in it. Feel confident in it. Speak about yourself highly and often. And don't worry about the rest. Let the rest go. The rest will fall into place. There will be people who want to buy your work. That is excellent. There will be people who are not the right fit for your work. That is also excellent. Don't worry about the rest. Set up a sales process that you feel good about and let the rest fall into place. Okay. I can go deeper into any aspect of this. I can talk about a lot of things. If you want to know about them, DM me on Instagram, PaigeRayCreative, @PaigeRayCreative. And tell me if you want to know more about a sales process, because I will make that for you. I do love talking to about sales when it comes to creatives, because it's such an integral part of like being able to pay your bills, obviously. And I feel like most creatives just want to do the creative part and don't want to do the business part. And we do have to learn how to do the business part, the sales part, all of that. And it's okay. It's not weird. It's not gross like you think it is. It can be really fun and feel good and be a process that feels easy for you and for the people who are buying with you. So I find this to be a really important topic. If you want me to talk more about it, I absolutely will. DM me on Instagram at PaigeRay Creative. Go to my website, paigeray.com. Everything's in the show notes. I love you guys, and I will see you next week.